Hello everybody, Dren608 here. This is Unconditional Surrender. Soviet versus West scenario. Games designed by Salvatore Vasta, published by GMT Games. We are going into September of 1945. Things are not looking good for the West. I got a 6-1 split on my first assault in the North German plain, knocking the 1st Canadians out after they had taken out a Guards army and damaged a shock army, which opened up the North German plain, and I basically ran a whole bunch of stuff that was like clogged up here, looking like it was going to push through central Germany. I just ran around the end, and I captured Kiel, Hamburg, Bremen, and Hanover. So with that, the Allies are down to 3 willpower, and will have to be doing something to rectify their situation. So with that, we'll just get right into it here. And we begin. Weather doesn't change. There's no declarations of war. The only economy here, we need to bring up the national track so you can see it as I'm resetting. Since we didn't lose anything in the strategic warfare last turn, everybody gets their same production points, British and the Russians. So get rid of that. Strategic warfare is a single die roll, so again a 4. 3 and a 4 don't do anything, so nobody lost anything. Strategic movement. For the West, they actually had one. They pick up the 5th here, and they move it into Dusseldorf. And that's to keep any kind of further breakout by the Russians is going to, got to kind of stop them in front of the Rhine. I can't let them get across the Rhine here. The other thing I've got to do is I've got to try to hold on to Frankfurt and Stuttgart, recapture Hanover, maybe recapture Bremen if I get lucky. So we're going to see how much I can get done. One of the things I think some people are probably going to say, why the heck haven't you been using your airdrop and partisans in the previous turn? The reason why I didn't in the previous turn is I was just trying to establish a line, and I was afraid of some kind of Russian breakthrough, whether here or in the center or along the Frankfurt-Stuttgart line. I wasn't sure where it was going to come. This is the turn you're going to see me use them to try and rectify that problem. I was hanging on to them for that. I really wanted to see if I could pull off hanging on to them till October when I get my surprise attack marker, and then they could be really effective, but you're going to see me use them here very shortly. And then I took there's an infantry army there underneath that airplane and just put him in Trieste because I don't want to spend a production point to move him there. Just in case the British got plucky and decided to, attack me here and got some kind of a 6-1 split and blew me up and then wanted to go running off into Zagreb or whatever, they would have to stop and kill Trieste first, which is -2 on the attack. So just being typical paranoid. Oops. I should. So we go into Western operations. I was a -2. I think I'm doing the southern airplane first. Not sure which airplane I'm doing. Yeah, I was attacking in the south to the central. I figured if any airplane got away, it would have to be the one that's farthest from the front. I got a 2 net, so that just took him up 1 sortie. And then -3, I went after this airplane and didn't get a 2-for-1 there. So then I believe I just used up my airplane here. of that one. Then I used the American Fighter. He didn't quite get what I wanted. So then he just used himself up to get to that. I think he still has one sortie left, so. And unfortunately in the north, the British did not roll a 6, so they have to use up their fighter to get rid of the Russian fighter. So, you see me, I place the partisans in Bremen, drop the paratroopers in Hanover, I move the U.S. Ninth Army 1. Now, I can do that because I'm moving from the zone of control of the units in the south do not live in that hex. So even though I'm moving from zone of control to zone of control, I am moving from one unit zone of control into another unit zone of control, which is legal, in case anyone asks. And I think I had, that was 4, so I should have 6 movement points left. So he was a net plus, he went up to +3, then -2 for the paradrop. And I was a +1, +2 because I'm armored, through -1 for the city, and then +2 for an airplane. That label, it's not a fighter unit, that was actually the 8th Air Force. I don't know why it does that. I gotta go figure out why my reporting is not talking. When you're stacked together, sometimes it gets confused as to who gets the sortie. So anyway, I had a net 7, and he had a 5, so he held. So I had to spend 3 more. I have to break out of here. And basically, it's the same attack. I got a 6 to his 3, so I forced him to retreat. I did not take the hex. Instead, I moved out and around to be in front of Bremen. I know I'm going to be bringing in units into Amsterdam and stuff, so this is basically trying to prevent him from being able to get too much of a run on me. Yes, he might be able to run somebody around to get on the backside of Dusseldorf, but the hopes was that I would stop him in front of Dusseldorf so it wouldn't be surrounded, isolated, whatever. Plus, it's adjacent to Aachen, so it wouldn't be surrounded. But I was just trying to do the best with what I had. The hopes had been that if I had knocked this armored unit out on the first go, if he'd been retreated, I would have moved 1 northeast, and then I would have tacked into Bremen with the same kind of odds, with hopes, hopes being that I push him out of Bremen, and then I have, the British can come back and help form up the line, and then we just kind of try to hold as best we can until the reinforcements arrive. But that didn't work out that way. So I moved the UK back in there. I got my will back. And then I attacked into the armored unit, threw the bomber in. It's +5 to +3. I rolled really good, got an 11. He got a 5, which not only retreated him, but flipped him. Then I moved there, and then I went ahead and attacked into Bremen, I believe. So he starts off at a -1. And I was a 2, and then I threw in an airplane to make myself a 4. And the Russians were thinking, I'm going to need to have my tanks markers. I think that's what they did here. Yeah, they just went ahead and took the hit. And he was eliminated. And so we took that back. And then I attacked against the armored unit. Didn't have any airplanes left. So it was a +3 to a +1. I only rolled a 4 and he rolled a 3, so nothing happened there. But I did take Bremen. Yes, I took Hanover, and it's going to go right back to him. But I have a halfway decent line here, and I don't think I chose to do anything else. It seemed to me that I don't have any air to protect Bremen to begin with, so he's probably just going to be able to push me away. And I have a few points left. One airplane can help defend the French, and this airplane can help prevent the Ninth, and or Dusseldorf if I have to, if he gets that far. So the first die roll was for the partisans, and the next die roll, the most critical one, was a 4. Thank God it wasn't a 6. The paradrop comes back in 4 turns. And then I had already basically said I was done with my operations, and this is what I was talking about last video. I forgot to move these guys to the west, and I thought that's cracked. So I just went ahead and did it since I hadn't moved any Soviets yet. And it's the 1st, the 3rd, the 7th, and the task force. So they couldn't do anything this turn except get to Europe. But that means that even if he gets some kind of major breakthrough in Bremen, he just can't run around me and just capture a city. He's at least got to fight for everything, which was the whole point. So I make a note of that. And then I go into the Soviet operations. And I can't remember, what did I do? Oh, I moved this guy. He goes, takes Hanover, makes the airplane go away, moves back into Hanover. Oh no, I just did that to control marker. And I flew the airplane back, and then I did move back into Hanover to get the heck out of the way. This Guards Army. I counted, and I could get all the way to there. So now I've cut the First French Army's lines of communication, which was what I was trying to do. Last turn, I failed to do it. Then I moved here. And because the British don't have anything, I was a +2, and he became a +3. Because I'm -1 for the city. And I rolled a 6 to his 7. And then I attacked again. I could basically attack 3 times. So I did. Resetting my movement points to be correct. And again, it's only a +2 to a +3. And we tied out at a 4. And then my last attack is a +2 to a +1. He goes ahead and throws an Ultra to give him a +2 to try and hang on. I rolled dismally the 3, and so he stopped me cold there. And it comes back in 4 turns. So then I attacked with this tank's army, again attacking at Stuttgart. He's a +1, I'm a +2. And it was a 7 to a 5, so it was okay. And I realized I still had an Ultra marker, and for some reason I wasn't playing it. I think I was worried about hanging on to Frankfurt. Just take the risk at +2 to +1, and finally it was a 7 to a 4, so he forced me to retreat. He was able to take the hex. And then he has one attack up to the Western Desert Force. So I was trying to get see if I couldn't get some kind of surrounded on Frankfurt, I guess, but 6 to a 5, and it stopped. It comes back in 3 turns. So now we're on to now we had to do this, and then And throw my heavy artillery in to try and make sure I take this. Because I am +3 for the primary armor, then +2 for an armor, +2 for a shock, +2 for the heavy artillery, and -1 for the city, and he's at a +3. +8 to +3, hoping to get my retreat here. An 11 to 6, and that's what I got. So I took back Bremen. And I got my heavy artillery back in one turn again. I'm rolling ones at the right time for the Russian. Now, this armored unit, that guards unit, this was a mistake on my part. I shouldn't have done an assault here. That was the wrong thing to do. I could have done better. I would have had better chance if I'd have just saved the assault for the guy coming across the river and just attacked twice with this armored unit first to try and get this guy flipped because he doesn't have anything left to play. And I got excited, got ahead of myself. Ended up at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, -1. It's +6. 6 to +1, and I rolled a 1. He rolled a 5. So my 7 to his 5, and he didn't have to retreat, which would have won the game for me right there because right now he's down to 1 national will. And that was a big mistake. I should have taken 2 attacks with the armored unit at +2 to +1, or yeah, it'd been +2 to +1, and then an assault after the fact. As a matter of fact, I think you'll see me. I did a couple of undos. Oh, I'm hitting undos. I'm sorry. So then that heavy artillery is coming back in 6 months, so I'm not going to see it for a long time. And then I just set this to see what I would have rolled. I would have rolled a 5 and a 6, so I'm pretty sure that if I'd have rolled those, been a 5 to a 6 and it had been a 3 to a 5, so I would have failed with the armor. And I took the first assault die roll, which would have failed. So even if I'd have tried to do it that way, I just wanted to see what the dice would have said. And it wouldn't have mattered. He still would have held Stuttgart. Just would have been more die rolls. So then I moved the guy out of Munich. I said, screw this. We're going to go try and punch across the Rhine. I'm there with like no movement points left because it's 1, 2. It would have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 for the river, 9 for the hex, 10 for the guy, because that hex is got nothing in it. So I was there with no movement points left. And I went ahead and threw my last tanks marker. So that I would have been 3 -1 for the river, so I was +2 to +1. Managed to get a 7. He got a 4, which forced him to retreat, so I went ahead and took the hex because it put me across the Rhine. So now he's got to have to move something down into Stuttgart. And I've also cut off him being able to put like an armored unit. He can't just put one into Stuttgart. He's got to push me away. So the idea is that I'll only have to fight the thing that only has like 2 tanks markers when I try to take Frankfurt. So he can't just put an American armored unit in there and just say, "Ha, try and beat me." Now he's got to actually fight his way back into it. And I think the rest of this is me kind of making sure I get my troops up to the front. Oh, this was a silly attack against the Americans. They didn't want to take any chances. They threw an airplane on it. Make sure that they were +5, and no, they definitely did not allow me to get anywhere. And then I moved this shock army more or less to be over here for support. I'm not sure which way I'm going to need to use it, but I'm trying to get my shock armies to the front to help me in assaults because it's going to be October next turn. We might have poor weather, and the Russian army is far more efficient in poor weather than other armies because of the +2 from the shock. Like the Western allies would be 1 for themselves, 1 for a tank, and then 2 for each tank. So they could get a maximum of +6, -1 for the weather, +5 on any given hex. More likely you have +4 because they're probably trying to take back cities. The Russians can get 2 from a elite tank unit, 2 from a shock, and 2 from another shock. So that's again 6. So they, and they have enough shocks and tanks that they can actually do that with a couple of tank markers. They can probably get off 3 or 4 of those attacks. The West might be able to get off 3. Usually, I've seen the Russians. If you have them positioned right, you can usually get off roughly 5 of those attacks. But that's only in the Eastern Front. You don't have all the units you normally have in the Eastern Front. And that was me doing my calculations again to make sure I counted right. And I did. And everything's in supply. We go to the replacements. We've got Americans getting theirs back. And then they flip all their armies to full strength. Yay. And then the British get back their sorties. The Russians get back their sorties. And flip over their 2 other units. We go to mobilization. The British go ahead and build their Canadian. And the Russians built their guy in Breslau because that's the only one of the few places he can be built. It's Breslau, Posen, Danzig, and Budapest, so way far away from the front. And there's no diplomacy, no victory, and then we go to the end of turn phase, and things. The Russians get back their tanks, the heavy artillery, and a partisans, and the West got their 2 British tanks and 2 surprise attack markers, which could be huge on trying to break out of this mess. Close this off. And then that's the end of the turn. So, the West is in a world of hurt. If they get fair weather, they probably can do a fair number on the Russians. They're going to have to pull the first French army back from the south, so there's nothing to that. I don't really have a choice there. Cutting my supply line there hurts. I thought about maybe I could do a punch through Munich and like surround units and things, but I just don't see that I can punch hard enough. I can't leave Stuttgart unguarded, so I have to move either the U.S. task force or one of the armored units in there. Have to not let the Russians get any kind of push through The forest here in the French-German border, so I'm probably going to have to make sure that I, keep that open. The only way to get like a real armored unit or whatever into Stuttgart is to or not Stuttgart, Frankfurt. To get something into Frankfurt, I'm going to have to fight my way in, and I'm not sure. I don't know. If I get fair weather, I might be able to do it, but by the same token, if I get severe, odds are I'm going to be lucky if I can push him out of Bremen. And then all the Russians need to do is, say I push them out of Bremen and, get this guards army down here somehow. That's across the Rhine. Maybe push it back across the Rhine and then garrison Stuttgart. Okay, great. Then the Russians have that partisan and armored unit or heavy artillery. Both of those are usable in severe weather. So they could end up with 5 to a -1 on Frankfurt and take it. And then they'd probably only be 3 -1. They'd probably be a 2 to a 1 in Bremen. And if they can get, +2 to a +1 and halved, they get a lucky split there and almost a guaranteed split in Frankfurt. So I'd probably have to keep people in such a way to make Frankfurt have to lose a step instead of retreating. Things could get ugly very fast. Plus, the British air is going to be very stretched, so I'm going to have to use some of the American air to negate the Russian air, which is, in poor weather and stuff, it's harder for the Allies to not do anything other than trade. And if they have to lose 8 sorties, they only have 2, 4. They've got 10 sorties on fighters and then 2 extra sorties on their bombers. So they won't have a lot of air power to make a continuous attack. But surprise attack marker might be able to blow some of the Russians in the center back a bit and establish a decent line. But I'm fighting on 1 willpower. So if I don't retake any cities, it only takes 1 city to kick me over, or 1 isolated unit to die, and I'm kicked over. So anyway, that's the September 1945 turn. I'm not sure when I'll get back to this to play this again. I'm almost to the point of saying, from the Western Allied standpoint, that I might just concede at this point. I might be able to fight on for a little bit, but because I'm at such low willpower, I can't really take any risks. And sooner or later, the Russians will get their splits back, and we'll take a couple of cities, and that'll be the end. Because there's no other way for me to get willpower back. I might be able to chip off a few Russian units, but the Russians have so much willpower at this point they don't care. It means that the Western Allies cannot use nukes because they're so low, it would knock them out. So unless they can get the Russians that low, which means killing lots of units, the whole nuclear weapon thing is not going to probably be a factor here. And if that's not a factor, the Russian preponderance of units where they can just make, like I've been making, +2 to +3, +2 to +1. So what? Just roll the dice 2 or 3 times and then do it again and then do it again. Sooner or later, you get your split and that ends the game. So, anyway, there you have it. That's September 1945. I might come back to this in a little while. I am currently doing a video series on Victory Games Civil War with the WGA modified rules. So I probably will be spending my time for the next couple weeks doing up those videos. So check those out if you want to see a different game. Once again, I'm Dren608. I will answer comments in time, maybe not as fast as you'd like. And if you like my videos, please subscribe, and I will see you next time. Meanwhile, everybody stay safe.